Oh, I need the questions.
All right.
You got us?
Yeah.
So we're rolling.
It's going.
Now this is Grant Kukat from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now California Green Solutions is asking folks around the galaxy, what are some of the top solar initiatives that are out there these days? And one of the things they want to know is, why do you here at this solar conference consider solar power the solution to today's issues? We're with...
Yeah, I'm Martin Plus. I'm the general manager from CFV Solar Test Laboratory. So we're testing PV modules to make sure they last for 20 years and will be reliable for that time. So your question was, why do we consider solar as a solution to the world energy problem? Well, because 1% of the energy in one day that hits the Earth from the sun would be enough to power the whole world for a whole year. So there is plenty of solar energy to solve all our energy problems, and we have the technology with the solar panels, PV, to get it very easily, very directly. You know, like no in-between step required, clean, no exhaust, no dirt, no nuclear waste. So I think if we make solar usable for everyone, and it can be used everywhere, you know, like it can be used decentralized, you know, like you don't have to have one big solar power plant. You can have like solar on the rooftops, you can have solar in the facade of the buildings, you can have it on your backpack, you can power your iPhone with it on the go, you know, like it can be anywhere, you know, like, so it's really, where it can solve our problem. We don't need nuclear, we don't need any of it.
Now, one thing that is interesting, because, you know, it is dark half the time. That and what do you see as the biggest problem for solar technology taking off in the future?
Well, of course, you have the problem with solar that you get the power if the sun shines and not if it's dark, like you say. So obviously storage is going to be a little bit of a concern if you go totally to solar. Also, from what I hear from industry specialists, if we have a well-functioning power system, power grid, up to 30 or 40% of solar can be essentially off-peak times and would not create any storage problem. Of course, if you go to a smart grid installation, you know, like if people have hybrid cars, you know, like you can program it that energy is stored in people's cars while they're not driving and then used out of the batteries back into the system. You know, like if you use other storage methods, there's like molten salts that can be used for concentrating solar power plants that can provide storage for up to 12 hours afterwards. You know, like so if you combine some of the storage solutions and have an effective power grid, you can easily overcome those intermittent problems.
Now, solar typically runs into issues when oil prices are kind of cheap. Now, can solar actually survive in an environment of $83 a barrel oil?
Absolutely. I mean, like we're getting down to grid parity already with solar installation, certainly in sunny climates. If you look at concentrating PV, we're getting down to about 70 cents installed per watt peak. You know, like so. I think if you factor in the cost of oil and coal and so on, in subsidies, in defensive costs and whatever, solar is already cheaper than most of those other conventional solutions, especially oil subsidized very highly. And so I think it's easy for solar to get there. And the price, if you look at the price point of solar, it's going down on a consistent trajectory over the last 20 years, and we are right now this close to grid parity, even with all the other technologies being subsidized so heavily.
Now that you have all that to say, what do you see as the future of solar?
Well, I think solar is really going to replace most conventional energy systems. It's going to provide, people going to have it integrated in the buildings, integrated in daily life. It'll become natural if you build a new house, if you build a skyscraper or whatever. The windows going to be essentially solar windows that generate power. You're going to have the roofs going to be built to generate solar power. You know, like your car is going to have a roof that's going to generate solar power. Your garage, your parking station is going to have solar collectors on it, so you can plug the electric car down into it and load up the batteries. So it'll really become an integrated part of everyday building components, everyday life.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to our viewers about you or your company, or any ways for them to contact you?
Well, I mean, like CFVsolar.com is our website. We're going to be a test laboratory in New Mexico. We're just setting up shop in this beautiful building here. And we are able to provide.
You might well.
Yes.
That way you can show what
Yes.
you want to show.
Yeah. So this is a building. It's a beautiful building. We're going to have 20,000 square foot indoor test space with all environmental chambers to stress modules to any standards, and they will be certified to both North American and international standards. So we work with these partners together. Fraunhofer is Europe's largest research company. They have institutes now in the United States, so Fraunhofer can develop new test methods, new technologies, drive down the cost of PV. CSA International is the Canadian Standards Association that provides test standards and standards for safety of all kinds of electrical and other equipment. And VDE is essentially the counterpart to CSA in Germany. They provide the standards for electrical equipments in Europe. So we are partnering with those partners to provide a global standard for PV modules.
So in closing, this is Grant Kuka from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Actually plug them as well. You rolling? Yep. So in closing, this is Grant Kuka from the Predatory Lender in association with California Green Technologies. So in closing, this is Grant Kuka from the Predatory Lending Network in association with California Green Solutions talking to you. Okay. You need to leave enough room. Okay, we're rolling.
You're going to put them through and then put it on.
Well, I don't make any money on this, so I'm trying to sell this as a TV show to CNBC. Okay. You got us both?
Let me get the sign for you.
Okay.
Let me get this thing for you. Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Now, this is Grant Kuka from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now, California Green Solutions is asking folks today in the solar industry about some of the top innovations in solar energy. Now, I'm here with Stephen. Can you tell us about some of the stuff of your company and who you are?
With Miller Welding and MGK Solar, we manufacture 2-axis solar trackers that hold the solar modules to produce about a 35% more efficient output overall from the modules during daily operation.
Okay. Now, one of the questions that they wanted to ask about one of the questions that they were asking is, why do you consider solar power the solution?
Solar power is a clean energy. We believe that it's in its infancy here in the United States. We feel it'll be coming on. That's why we wanted to get into alternative energy and manufacture the support trackers for that. But we believe that it's going to grow just for the mere fact the efficiencies are coming up in the modules, and also the cost is coming down per watt. So I think we'll see it be a viable solution to our energy here in the United States.
Can you look at the camera when we're talking?
Sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, next thing they want to know is, what are the biggest problems for the solar industry today? What do you feel are the biggest problems for the solar industry?
What I see as the biggest problems is the public understanding just how solar power works, how the modules, the efficiency of the modules, what it takes to produce the power from the modules. One thing we run into making the dual-axis solar tracker is the upfront cost of the solar tracker versus the overall 35% efficiency of output. But I think as the public becomes educated, we're going to see that diminish this year alone at this program. I've seen that being a little less of a problem just because more people are becoming aware of how solar functions.
Now, because oil prices are kind of low right now, do you feel solar can actually survive against $83 a barrel in oil right now?
I think solar, through the long term, we will see it survive. There's issues with incentives and how that goes out to the different industries. People are seeing it for the alternative energy, but I think as they begin to realize the different incentives, different things that are going on, even in the oil and gas industry, I think people will become more educated, and I do think that solar power will survive through all this.
Do you want to do the Middle East one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, with all this push towards solar technology and alternative energies, if one set of society is still going towards alternative energy and another one's still using fossil fuel, what will that do for U.S. and the Western world's relations with the oil-producing countries in the Middle East and around the world?
I think right now we won't see a great impact on that relationship because it'll be years before we've completely transferred to a completely fossil fuel need. I think it's going to be a blend of fossil fuels, alternative energy that will allow our society to function in a more green way in the world. But I don't know that it's going to be so dramatic that it will affect our relationships with some of the oil exporting countries.
Now, what is the future of solar power now that you're in the industry? What do you think is the future of solar power?
I think the future will be moving ahead as the module manufacturers begin to bring up the efficiencies on the panels. It will continue to grow and allow power independent for just individuals throughout the country, whether they put in their own grid tie unit or a non-grid tied power plant. It's going to allow freedom for people to select on how they really do want to have their energy generated. But I really believe it's going to continue to grow.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to our viewers?
Just thank you for the opportunity here, and if you do put solar panels in, we certainly are believers in two-axis trackers.
So in closing, this is Grant Kukoth. I'm the Predatory Lender in association with California Green Solutions talking to you.